dorsal longitudinal fasciculum. Okay, so the septal area where the septal nuclei are very important. Okay, so give me some other afferents to the septal area. Precommissural fibers of the fornix. What are some other afferents to the septal area? The stria terminalis ends directly in the septal area. What else goes to the septal area? The diagonal band of Broca. The what? The diagonal band of Broca, connecting the amygdala to the septal area. Okay? Who is the blood supply to this structure? There. Who is the main blood supply to this structure? The pericallosal artery. A branch of what? The anterior cerebral. A pericallosal, a branch of the anterior cerebral. Okay? Pericallosal, a branch of the anterior cerebral. Okay? A pin is here, alright? A pin is here, and a pin is here. So 3 pins. Okay, so 3 pins right here, and right here, and let's take 4 pins, and right here, there. So where are these pins placed? Alright, first of all, this pin. What's this pin in right here? What part of the brain are we looking at here? Lingula. Okay. Alright, so that's primary visual cortex. Okay. Primary visual cortex. Okay. Here, what's that area known as? The cuneus. The cuneus, isn't that so? Because that's a calcarine sulcus dividing into parieto-occipital and post-calcarine. This area is known as what? Precuneus, and there we can see the central sulcus coming up to meet onto this surface, so this is called a paracentral lobule. Okay? What part of the body is situated here? That's motor. What part of the body is situated right there? Perineum. Remember Dr. Ledenko was talking about it? The perineum. So he was talking about the release. Remember there were 3 areas, okay, the 3 areas, okay, so that's the paracentral lobule, anterior part to the perineum. Who is this? That's the cingulate gyrus. Underlying association fiber is the cingulum, part of the circle of Papez. Here we see the medial frontal gyrus, okay, the medial frontal. Now, okay, let me just quickly do 1 or 2. JP, what's the time now? My time is up? 10 more minutes? You tell me when it's up. Once you tell me when it's up. Alright. I don't want to go into anybody else's time. Okay, so just tell me when time up and I will stop. Okay, give a chance. Okay, give a chance. Right here. Beautiful. I love it right here. Very, very good. It can't get better. There. So first of all, I see these 4 elevations. Okay. Then I see this little structure right here. Then I see these 2 little darkened areas, pigmented areas. Okay. Who are those little pigmented areas right here? That's the locus coeruleus. Alright. That's the locus coeruleus, isn't that so? Just at the junction of the pons and the midbrain. Okay, the floor of the rhomboid fossa. Okay, the locus coeruleus, which is the what? Noradrenergic center. Projects to which areas of the brain, Kelly Monroe? Locus coeruleus projects to which areas of the brain? Answer: all. Okay, projects to all areas. Okay, so it has a vast projection. So the locus coeruleus has a vast projection, and there is the frenulum villi, and just out of those 2 little recesses will arise what? The 4th cranial nerve, right? The 4th cranial nerve, and it's going to wind around this structure right here, which is the superior cerebellar peduncle. Okay. All right, so who is this boy right here? See it right here? There. So that's the crura of the Fornix. Isn't that so? And there you can see the stria terminalis. This is stria terminalis coming right back here. And then this is beautiful right here. Who is this boy right here? You see the cut? So this is always in the exam. Every exam, neuro exam I've ever been in is there. What is that? Optic radiation. Also known as what tract? Geniculocalcarine tract. Okay. What are those fibers? Tell me what is the optic radiation would be. How would classify what type of white fibers would the optic radiation be formed by? Kristen. Association, projection, commissural, which one you want to say? Projection. Why? Because you're going from the level of the diencephalon to the telencephalon. So they are projecting fibers. Are there any descending fibers in the optic radiation? Yes or no? Will it be just ascending fibers or any descending fibers there? Must have. There are descending fibers going down. Anyway, they're always corticothalamic. They're thalamocortical and they're corticothalamic. But also descending will be the from the occipital lobe, and these are corticopontine. Remember the internal capsule will have both ascending and descending. So these are occipitopontine. Okay? Occipitopontine going to where? What's the function of occipitopontine fibers? So remember, they're all a part of synergy of movement. So as the neocerebellum can function, they need, that's not my area though, we need to have neocerebellar input. Okay? So always tell you, when you go to a Chinese circus and you see these people jumping off and they're spinning around in the air and they're grabbing each other's hand way up there in the air, so that's highly coordinated movement. They're using fibers from all parts of the cortex. And frontopontine and occipitopontine are rich. Now there's a layer of white matter that's just medial to the optic radiation. What's that layer of white matter known as? Tapetum. Okay? Tapetum. Okay, reasonable? That's the tapetum. Okay? Okay, let's relax. Who is located right here? We're just relaxing. Who is located right here? There. So what structure is located there? That's the cingulum. Okay? Wow, this is good. Who is this? This is very, very good. And when you use even there, who is that? That's the posterior commissure. Connects what? Pretectal nuclei. There are the red nuclei right here. Okay, the red nuclei. Okay. Let's review quickly. Afferents and efferents to the red nuclei. Think. What's the major efferent? What's the major afferent to the red nucleus? Very good. From the interposed nucleus. Okay? So it's a part of paleocerebellar function. Okay? So there we see the crus cerebri. And remember that we may get a syndrome that affects the whole of the cerebral peduncle when the posterior cerebral artery is affected, and that's known as what? And that's known as Weber's. What's that called? Weber's. Weber's. Okay? So in Weber's, we get both sensory loss and motor loss to the contralateral side of the body, and we get facial problems, we get third and fourth nerve, cranial nerve problems. Okay? Weber's. Then we need to distinguish it from Benedict's. Okay? Benedict's doesn't usually have motor disturbance. Alright? Who is this? Right here. See, the pin was always here? I just place it right back in. What's that in? Body of the caudate nucleus. And therefore that's the thalamus. Okay? And there we can see the corona radiata. Right here. There we see the hippocampus. Reasonable. And we can see the alveus very clearly on top. Okay? Who is this right here? Okay, right here. Who is that structure right there? See right there? That's the optic tract. What that structure is, the optic tract, which will end where? Winds around the cerebral peduncle to end primarily where? In LGB. So that's the optic tract. Reasonable? Remember that's Broca's motor speech area right up here. So that's the superior temporal gyrus, middle temporal gyrus, inferior temporal gyrus. Okay? Alright. So let's look at another one here. So there's one that I think I saw when I was opening it up. Here it is, this one. Okay, right here. Okay, some nice spotters there. The most important spotter though would be this one. Who is that? And this question is to anyone. And that's the decussation of the superior cerebellar peduncle. So at the level of the superior colliculus we find the red nuclei. At the level of the inferior colliculus we find the decussation of the superior cerebellar peduncle. Okay? Who is this back here? Pulvinar of the thalamus. Main connections of pulvinar of the thalamus. Main connections of pulvinar of the thalamus. LGB and MGB. Connects primarily into LGB and MGB. Okay? So this one is well developed right here. There. Who is that structure right here? And once again, that's the stria terminalis. What association fiber would be located here? What association fiber will be located here? Okay? What major association pathway would be located here? What major association pathway would be located here? Superior longitudinal fasciculus, inferior longitudinal fasciculus, and right here, the cingulum. Three major association pathways. Cingulum, superior longitudinal fasciculus, and inferior longitudinal fasciculus. Reasonable? Okay. Alright, one particular thing I wanted to show is that the search card. What's that one thing? Okay, where is it? Hopefully it's here. Okay. Alright. Okay, so there. Who is this? It's really a rough specimen, but if you can get it on this, then you'll be fine in the exam. Okay? So this is a rough specimen right here. So I'm giving this one to Kim. Where's Kim? She's in a striped blouse and she's hiding. Kim, who is this? I'm coming to the end of my time. Who do we have here? As I said, if you can get it, let me put the pin at this angle so it doesn't obscure it. Who is that structure right there? So white. Okay, who is that structure there? So that's in the temporal lobe, just around there. So that's the amygdala. The almond-shaped amygdala. Okay? That's the almond-shaped amygdala. Okay? Associated with what, Kristen? What kind of violence? Domestic violence. Alright? Very good. Domestic violence. Alright? So when the wife really gets mad with the husband, that's called domestic violence. Alright? Does the husband deserve it? Definitely not. Alright? Definitely not. Okay? But women always think the worst. Alright? They never think anything good. Is that so, Dr. Shetty? Right, very good. So that is the what? That's the amygdala. It has a medial part and a more lateral part. The medial part is olfactory, and that ends right there is the lateral olfactory striae. In the lateral part, they are really getting inputs from the same place that the hippocampus is getting its input from. That's the entorhinal cortex. Okay? So that's the amygdala. What are the efferents of the amygdala? Efferents. 1. Major one, stria terminalis. 2. Ventral amygdalofugal fibers to the hypothalamus. 3. Diagonal band of Broca. There are also amygdala striae. Okay? So the amygdala. So the strange thing with the amygdala, there is a big book on it. and lots of things on the amygdala. The problem why anger is a thing that once anger starts get rolling, you cannot stop it. Okay? Hard to stop. Very interesting that the amygdala has a lot of outputs, but the inputs are, it's as if the amygdala is it sends out a lot of information, but there's little coming back to it. Okay? I mean, this is all on basis of anger, that once amygdala activity really starts get going, okay, and that anger, that rage, all right, that will end up destroying somebody else, okay, so that's all coming from the amygdala. So the cortex seems to have very little control over the amygdala, okay. So once those outputs and you start generating those negative signals from the amygdala, all right, then you're into problems. Some people have serious problems, and you see them reading books on anger management. So sometimes where I go for a walk in the evening, there's a gentleman, there is always sitting down, and the poor book looks so mashed up. So I decided, let me look, what's the title of the book he's reading every evening? Anger management. So I went up and spoke to him a little, angry with all his colleagues at work, okay? So he has serious issues with controlling his what? His anger. So he has to have that anger management. Some people have a temper that don't fool around with them, okay? Better stay far, all right? Don't get in trouble, all right? So there is the internal capsule right there. They have serious problems. And my time is finished. GP and myself are good friends. I don't want to destroy the friendship, all right? There is the external capsule, and traveling in the external capsule will be corticostriate fibers, okay? So, well, JP has just walked out of the room just for a minute, so I can ask something quickly and more, all right? Here, that is the bacillar portion of the pons, which is going to contain primarily the pontine nuclei, corticopontine fibers, corticospinal fibers, corticonuclear fibers. And just quickly before JP comes back, I'm not in his time. As he appears, I will disappear. Okay? So there we see the internal capsule, and somebody was discussing a very interesting thing with me. Examine your MCQs clearly. Remember that the middle cerebral artery supplies the precentral gyrus, and the lower part is supplied by the lower part would be of the precentral gyrus is where the head is represented, where you get the corticobulbar tracts. So if we get a cerebrovascular accident of the middle cerebral artery, we'd expect to get like an upper motor neuron lesion of the face, tongue problems, etc. But we need to trace that corticobulbar tract through, because that corticobulbar tract will enter the corona radiata, then get into the genu of the internal capsule. And what supplies the genu of the internal capsule? What are some arteries that supply? One, recurrent artery of Hübner, which is an artery of cerebral hemorrhage. It's a high pressure vessel. So it may not be a problem with a cerebrovascular accident on the cortex, but it may be a rupture of the recurrent artery of Hübner. What else? What else? 3 arteries supply there. 3. Direct branches from the internal carotid, striate branches. Those are really high pressure. And what else? There's a 3rd one. Well, Dr. JP is back. Remember that the corticonuclear will go through the cus cerebri and the posterior cerebral also. End of story for M. Gardner. JP, your time. No, your time. Eh? Good. No, nothing. Let's say good morning to the WJC students.